going back to the Christmas vacation Chevy Chase thing, we've all been there. I don't know about you, but growing up in Michigan with a father who, when one light goes out, they all go out. And Christmas set up in my house, which was, my mother was a Christmas freak. We had at one point we had 17 trees up.
Wow. Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
No, not full Christmas trees, but different sizes, styles.
Trees. Yeah. Wow.
My mom was a Christmas freak. And so Christmas setup started for us the week after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd have it all set up. And this is, of course, today's world now. They're setting it up, the day after Halloween. But we would start then, and then we'd always do the real Christmas tree. I'd have to work the Christmas tree a lot for with my dad.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to string the lights. And I was the oldest. And so I'd take the brunt of it. And back in those days, man, those lights, right? One goes out, they all go out.
Mm-hmm.
And he just would start screaming and yelling at me. And if I didn't put the light in the right spot, and then he'd tell me I broke the light bulb. I'm like, oh, yeah, but I didn't touch the thing. But it was trauma for me.
Yeah.
Setting it all up. But which is why I probably would hire lighting pros today, because right now I stick 3 spotlights in my yard.
Yeah,
The spotlights are good.
I'm not big on heights.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Oh boy, we're doing it again, Alan. Here we go. We are getting back on, but we're doing it in person again.
It's my favorite.
And it's your favorite in person. Here we go. We're doing it. But this morning in training, we had our operations manager who came out to see me speak in Vegas. And of course, he didn't do that, but he came out to Vegas. But he brings it back because he's doing his 60th birthday, but he brings it back to training, right? So I have my 19 technicians and the 5 project managers. Our whole team's in there. We're 35 strong in the room. And he leads with telling everything that was happening in Vegas and showing pictures. And then he leads into, you need to always protect yourself and protect your customer in the house. And so I said, guys, where else can you hear and see Vegas with butts and protect yourself? I said, this is just not a handyman remodeling company, my friend. You get to listen to it all here.
So did he put some pictures of Big Daddy up on the screen?
I did not make the screen, thank God. But the showgirls on the street did.
Really?
Oh, yeah. With butts flying. Yeah, it was incredible. But so he goes there, and old Ron from West Virginia has done it again. I mean, I was like, so I got up there at the end and said, so Ron, I forgot to tell you one thing. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, especially when I'm out there with you. Okay, buddy? So we had some fun, but how about that? You can rock show in Vegas showgirls. He'd never been out there and couldn't believe in broad daylight these girls would be out there with nothing on except their feathers on their head.
I am guessing that your staff was much more engaged in that particular meeting than most of them.
I would
highest engagement meeting he's probably had.
I would say once
questions.
Again.
Can we go back to the previous slide?
Right. Yeah. Right. And now for safety.
Yeah.
Can we go back?
Wait, can we start over again?
So that was awesome. But I got something big to share.
What?
All right.
Is this a medical thing?
This won't be the medical things that I'm working through. I do not have gout. I just have high uric acid.
Gout light.
Gout light.
I think gout light is
the
proper.
Chickens have come home to roost for
have.
Big Daddy.
I don't know how that could happen. Pop me another beer.
It's your Caligula-like lifestyle.
It is, unfortunately, probably
the lobster,
that,
the dancing girls,
so
the
I can
cigars, that.
I could either stop all that or I could take a pill. Which door should I go through?
Yeah, I know which door you're going through.
That's right. No, I'm not stopping this thing. This boat's rolling, baby. We got to roll.
The train has left the station.
The train has left. That train has definitely left the station. I don't know how many years it's going to take to rehabilitate me, but that's going to be a long one. But no, I got some great news on my son. We always talk about my daughter, and once again, she did it to me on Halloween, completely making fun of me and then posting it all over, sending it to all her friends, and then putting it on social media, only to find out that I went viral in her Instagram.
And if a listener wants to see it, they can just email Chris at the Trusted Toolbox and get.
Yes. If you want to see me looking like an alien, send it on in, Chris at thetrustedtoolbox.com. Let me know you're listening and I'll share the video with you. since it's pretty much out there, the most viral thing I've ever done was something I never did.
With all the TikToking you've done, your daughter crushes you with just making fun of you on Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we
There
got
you
a
go.
theme here, don't we?
Brilliant.
Yep. I think she's on it. But I got some great news on my son, who we don't really talk about much. He is a senior at Georgia, 2-time national
Dogs.
dog. Thank you.
Go Dogs.
And that I knew Matthew would enjoy that as a dog himself. But he just found out he took the LSAT score and he had a target score. And so his target score was not perfect, which is admirable, but he had a target score to get the 80th percentile, and he got there
Nice.
on the first test.
Hey, that is
Wow.
fantastic.
Congratulations.
160 he got. Yeah.
That's
and he is-
fantastic.
dude, that is, and you guys know his journey. That was, he
That's
is,
amazing.
I mean, I've never gotten so many text messages from him in 5 minutes in my life.
That's
He
so
was
cool.
so pumped.
Yeah, I love
He
that.
should be. I mean, well
Yeah, man.
done.
I know. I'm excited for him. So it's an
Do you
exciting
want
time.
to
in the
take a
family.
minute and readjust your microphone?
Is he
there?
going to
I
be a
mean,
double dog there?
He does not want to be a double dog.
Okay.
Although
I respect that.
I did look up how much cheaper it is if
Yeah.
it stayed.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now his number one is Wake Forest.
Okay, going out of state.
Why wouldn't he want to go to Georgia Law? My nephew went to Georgia Law, and he's the
It's a
man in
fantastic
Savannah.
school.
Well, I know, but I mean, you look at it his way. He's got 4 years there.
Yeah.
And he'd like to see another city. And
Sure.
at this point, he did me right by going there. And with the
Yeah.
Georgia in-state tuition that we have, which is unlike anybody else in the
Yeah.
nation.
And
I-
hope.
Yeah. And he got the Zell.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, talk about paying nothing. And then we
Yeah.
bought a house up there.
Yeah.
And so he's living rent free. So he was kind of the free one. It's the other one that cost me a lot of money. The one that will remain nameless, who is all over Instagram. Go ahead and look her up. Yeah. Yeah. All right. But who do we have in studio? We've been waiting for this one for a long time. I'm excited to talk to him. This is Matthew Efird of Mosquito Joe's and Lighting Pros. He is all over the board. I have known Matthew now for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah. And met him through the CEO Mastermind group that I'm part of, and have been more and more impressed with him every time you talk to this guy. He is just a wealth of knowledge. He is a student of the game. He's a student of business. He is.
Can you imagine where he'll be when he's our age?
He'll be way past me. I hope I can ride behind his boat every once in a
Just
while.
just watch for the gout light.
Yeah, I'll definitely be watching out for that gout light.
Yeah, you watch out. Yeah. So if I'm in the back and I ski behind your boat, big guy, just remember, especially if by the time you're my age and I'm my age plus that 20 more. Yeah, Big Daddy's not ski behind your
Big
boat.
Daddy's not good at the gazintas either.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
boy.
ride in the boat.
All right, thanks. All right, I'm gonna ride in the boat. Love
Ride
it.
in the boat.
So Matthew, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course.
And we're excited to get into this. So let's talk about Matthew a little bit, or do you want to talk about?
No, I was just gonna know. Matthew drives a Ram, so we've got all three trucks represented, all three U.S. trucks.
There we go.
We've got my Ford, his Ram, and your loaner Chevy.
still loaner Chevy.
Yeah.
Still loaner Chevy, because I can't get a flipping part for my truck that's under warranty because of the stupid strike, which
Yeah.
I've heard
It's supposed to be coming to an end.
coming to an end. I hope
Yeah.
by the end of this podcast. we'll
Maybe you
have it.
should think about buying a vehicle that doesn't need so many extra parts.
There you go.
There's just a thought.
Well, I tell you what I am doing now.
Or you drive it like it has extra parts.
So similar to how my lifestyle
Good
goes.
question.
There's probably a reason that the trainee went on this one.
Yeah.
A little bit of trivia on Dodge Ram. Can you name the top 3 states where Dodge Rams sell? They're actually the 3 states that Dodge Ram sells more than Ford and Chevy.
Texas,
No.
Wyoming,
Yes.
Wow.
Indiana,
No.
Montana.
No.
Utah.
No. We're running out of time, but
Oregon.
it's Wyoming, Nevada, and Alaska. And I'm thinking, the
wow, okay.
Alaskans,
Yeah.
they don't mess around with their truck
Yeah.
purchases.
Oh, yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah.
How about that? Well, there we go. We've got all three
Got a
covered.
little bit of trivia.
There we go.
I love that.
Hmm.
All right. Can we talk about Matthew, or you want to talk more about his truck?
I will.
So we could do it like
Truck, maybe.
Smart List, where they bring in a hidden guest. Well, I kept this one from you a little bit and thought that I was onto something. And of course, we're onto something because we're taking Bateman and the boys down anyway,
There we
because we're on their heels and they're scared. In fact, Hayes just hit me up on an email saying, "Hey, guy, can you just take it easy? You're starting to eke into our podcast listenership."
Yeah.
That's
They're
how big
wondering where the leak is, and it's the small business safari.
there it is.
Yeah.
You knew it. No. So I brought Matthew in. And so when Alan walks in, he goes, "Hey, we've met." I'm like, well, I'm thinking to myself, of course you have, because I'm here. I mean, everybody meets through me. I'm the connector. He goes, no, we met somewhere else. I'm like, do what? He goes, yeah, and I really like him. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's going to be more fun because he came bearing gifts. And that's one of the many, many reasons I like to just have in-studio guests. So
Okay.
there is a nice bottle of Brown here.
And
Law's whiskey.
Law's Whiskey. Tell us a story about Law's Whiskey House.
I was in a conference through Neighborly on Mosquito Joe brand, and they had a conference out in Denver. Got to talk to one of the guys in the restaurant and looking for something local to try. And this is a Denver distillery, and tried it, loved it, found some here, and definitely want to bring it to share with y'all. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much for bringing it. And I
of
know
course,
if you guys want to figure out where we get this whiskey, it was Law's Whiskey, Denver, Colorado. Should be a sponsor. Maybe we'll hit them up.
maybe we will.
All right. Matthew, we got to get into this story because it is a fascinating story that probably will ring with a lot of listeners. So you're born and raised in Georgia.
Yep.
Up in the mountains of Georgia.
Mountains of Georgia. Yeah.
Yep.
So I was actually born in Texas. Matter of fact, my dad was in residency there, and then moved to Blairsville, Georgia when I was 1. So grew up in Georgia, and played football my freshman year just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, in Cumberland University. It's a D2 school. They are famous for having the highest score ever scored on them in football. Went and played football.
Was that
there.
the Georgia Tech Cumberland score?
Georgia Tech Cumberland 212-0. It's quite impressive. So
I knew that name.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
fantastic
So
story.
clearly way before your time.
Way before
But
my
You
time.
went there to
But
set that up.
There's
to fix
there's
that.
more to that story because it
Yes.
wasn't Cumberland's football team. It was like
So their baseball team the year before had a riff with Georgia Tech, and they had hired some semi-professional baseball players, and Cumberland beat Georgia Tech pretty badly. And so Georgia Tech caught wind that they had hired players, got very mad. And when Cumberland came down the next year to play them in football, Georgia Tech did the same thing. They hired additional players to come on and play, and Cumberland could barely field a team. And there were no first downs in the game. Absolutely 0 first downs. Cumberland scored every single, Georgia Tech scored every single drive. Cumberland did not score a first down, and Georgia Tech scored every single time they touched the ball.
wow.
All right. So you came out of Blairsville to go play football.
Played football, and then it was a job. It was a great opportunity. Loved it, but I didn't want that to be my college career. So transferred to Georgia. This one, go Dogs, love the Dogs, and fell in love with the business school there. Actually, it's how I met Chris Hanks, was through the business school there. He was still there at that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a professor of mine.
And if you haven't listened to that Hank's episode, I just
please
sent
go
that
back
to
and listen
somebody.
to it.
Yeah.
It is a great
We
episode.
primed him with some bourbon, and dude, he took off
It is
like
a
a
great
rocket.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, light
So-
some candles, burn some incense, pour a bourbon, and listen to that episode.
Yeah.
If you could
Yeah.
see him in class, he was next level. Just an incredible individual, but really helped spark my interest in getting back into entrepreneurship. So when I was in high school, my brother and I had a mowing business, and we grew it to a couple of crews, and we were running and having a great time, and then went to college and didn't want to do it anymore. So sold the equipment and left from it. And then took Hank's entrepreneurship class, took several different business classes through Terry, and didn't know where I was going to go after school. My wife's a year younger than I am in school. And so I took a job at a pharmacy management company. The owner and I went to church together, and started in sales. I did sales all through college at different jobs and odds and ends, and loved that route. Did that for several years, but was traveling 40 plus weeks a year. And I saw them at the time. It felt like they were starting to make decisions that it was, hey, they'd broken the 8-figure mark as a business, which was really exciting to be a part of that. They'd gone from about 3 million to 10 million when I was there. And they had an amazing product. And it was just me connecting the dots. So it wasn't any magical that I did. But I really had an emphasis on, what am I going to do as we try to start a family? And we since have, but what am I going to do for my sons or my daughters? Now we only have sons, but what can I do to hand off to them? Because this business I'm working for, that I'm investing a lot of time in, they're paying me, and I appreciate that. But I can see the end coming, that they're going to sell, and they're going to pat me on the back, and they're going to say, thanks for the time. And I didn't want to be in that position. And so we started looking at opportunities and found Mosquito Joe.
So when you were there, was it pain, or was it more about opportunity and pleasure? What drove you to that move?
Opportunity and pleasure.
Yeah.
It was more just the, I had a great boss that I worked with. I worked with one of the owners very closely, good friend of mine. The travel was a bit much, especially trying to start a family at that time, young, married. I enjoy travel, but not without my wife. And so really looking to be able to kind of be more local.
I was going to say, Chris, go ahead, say it. That'll change.
Well, yeah. In fact, that never changed. That was for me right off the bat. I was traveling the first 3 years, or the first 5 years. I was an engineer and then eventually worked in consulting. In the first 3 years of my daughter's life, I traveled 40 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
And
how many weeks out of the year do you travel now without your wife?
Less than 40.
A few. It's not as 40, but
No, I was actually there's going to be a huge difference between me and Matthew. I mean, similar story, and I think that's one of the big things. That's why I wanted to pick that up.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, they start a business because of pain.
Yeah.
You know, you got a boss hole, you got a job you hate, you got a lifestyle you can't stand, you're a miserable SOB, you don't even like yourself, and you start that business out of pain.
Yeah.
And I just got done explaining to guys, especially in sales, and Matthew knows this, people buy more on avoidance of pain than it is for seeking pleasure.
Yeah.
You'll pay more for it. And but you are, in your case, you were thoughtful about it, and you'll show this as we get talking in the podcast. I think that's a huge nugget for a lot of people, is that you don't always have to run away from something. You need to find out where you want to run to before you start running. So
is that in your book? Did you write about that in your book?
I did, my friend. See, I stay on brand. In fact, I just got asked, when are you going to write your second book?
Version 2.
I'm like,
well, we learned from one of our recent guests that
he has 4.
His
fourth one was
and really the fourth one's good and the other ones were garbage. So
so maybe by
extrapolation,
I got 3 more shots at it. We'll see about writing the book, but I mean, I think that's a big point for everybody. And you're right. Thanks, Alan, for bringing up my book. It's From the Zoo to the Wild, your guide to entrepreneurial freedom and wealth. Go out and pick it up on Amazon. Thank you. And back
now
to the show.
I actually read it.
I know, I do appreciate that. Yeah. So back to Matthew. So you had a boss you loved working for. You had a company you liked being part of.
Yeah.
The only detraction really was, I want to start a family. I don't want to be away from my family that long, which everybody can appreciate. But that wasn't the pain part. It was that, no, I want to establish a legacy.
Yeah. It's definitely the legacy piece. And it was definitely, am I being a good steward of my time? That's really kind of a word. I say this, I've not been a big word guy for the year. But that's probably the word that I've said the most over the last decade is stewardship, that I want to be a good steward of my time. And I love the company that I worked with. I love the owner, one of the owners that I got to work very closely with, the customers that they had, the type of service that they were doing. They had found a niche to serve rural America. And they were helping small hospitals.
Let me ask you this. When you make a commitment to being a good steward of your time, does that mean that you are trying to use your time more wisely, or are you kind of taking the other approach and cutting out the things that are less wise? I'm looking at you, Chris.
I think those two things go hand in hand, personally. I think those two things go hand in hand. And it was a lot for me. It was trying to spend it more wisely. And so I really wanted to be able to hand over some kind of legacy to my future children. At that time, we did not have children. We have 4 boys now. And it was the desire to be able to hand something off to them instead of just me having a job for a career, because you can't hand over a job. That was really a big driver for me.
That's next level thinking right there. And that's definitely not what I was thinking when I was 20 something years old. And I'm sure a lot of us were thinking that way. I was just like, it's going to make a lot of money. Legacy, kids, they'll come eventually. Well, whatever. No, I think that's huge. And again, you'll see that common thread, I think, as we keep talking about what you've done. So you evaluated a number of different, what did you do? Did you look at franchises only? Did you look at
looked at home services business, looked at restaurants, looked at acquiring businesses, looked at starting from scratch. And I kept finding Mosquito Joe listed as a fast growing franchise that was outdoors. So I had the experience in landscaping, and I tried the service. And once I tried it, I was sold. Then I started calling. I called about 100 owners around the country.
Wait, I called about 100 owners.
It was a bunch, and it was more of, hey, I'm looking at doing this. I've got this opportunity. The North Georgia area was open, and as an area developer, we had made some wise investments as a family and saved, and we were looking to be able to invest in something, and so Mosquito Joe came up and made those calls. One of the things that we found in making those calls was, what do you do with your staff in the off season? And nobody really had a good solution. And one guy in Texas said, I just bought a Christmas lights business, and I'm going to try it and see if my employees like it. He said, I don't think it's really going to work. He said, I'm just kind of like, if my employees leave, they leave. I'll just retrain new employees next year. And for whatever reason, that did not sit well with me. And so, we started both businesses simultaneously, and it has been just an amazing ride for us to be able to offer year-round employment.
That is amazing that you started 2 for 1. So one's a franchise. They give you the systems, the process, the guarantee. You went in 100 people looking into it, eyes wide open. The other one starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So I think if you would have called me, my advice would have been so anti. I'm like, all right, so what else you looked at? Restaurants? Okay, well, good. So you didn't pick the worst thing ever.
Yeah, right.
You just picked the second suckiest thing ever.
There you go.
Home services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here we go, because and I love the guy who says, I'll just retrain people every year. Oh yeah, that's exactly
exactly.
So I mean, it's a very successful franchise. What are they telling people in Discovery Day when they're like, well, what do you do the rest of the year?
They're saying send your employees to Amazon, FedEx, and then get them back in the spring.
Oh, so go deliver packages in the off season.
Yeah. So get them to find another seasonal business. But what we found in talking with owners is your good employees, they go to another seasonal business and then they stay. They get picked up. The good ones do. And then the ones that you're like, I mean, you're a decent employee, or you're maybe you haven't been an A player, but you're a B player, and maybe we can work with you. They're the ones that always come back. And so for us, it was really trying to seek a way to invest in our staff. And that's a big thing for me, is investing in people. I care a lot about people and people around me. But what it's done for our business is the higher quality staff that I get, the better service we provide, which means I have less turnover of customers. I have lower cost of acquisition because I have more referrals. I have less training, and just across the board, it's made both businesses better and more profitable.
So when you decided to do this, you cut cold turkey. Obviously, the wife was on board with you. Did she have a job? And did you guys have an income?
Yeah. So she was a school teacher.
Okay.
And she did that until our first son was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys, talk about a double dip, huge thing. You have to go get trained. You got to go to Discovery Day.
Yeah.
Come back, do the training, get started, get going. So were you actually out there doing the sprays in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was out, especially early on. I mean, answering the phones, doing sprays, and then it was we hired a couple of staff that one of them still with us, which is really cool. And they went in the field, and I went in the office full time.
There you go.
And so that was kind of my route. I would jump in the field when needed during peak seasons. For mosquitoes, rain days are really delay your week, and so we double up routes and things of that nature. So that was kind of the emphasis, but it was more getting the office and then training the office staff, creating the systems in the office for our local franchise location. And then
you still have a bit of a gap in your annual calendar, don't you? Like right after the holidays.
No, see, for us, we have about 2 weeks of dead time for us.
2 weeks.
So 2 weeks. And instead of 12, we have 2.
Okay.
And so because of the way that we do lights and the way that we've booked our schedule here in Georgia, we're able to employ people every year, all year long, except for 2 weeks. And then one of those weeks, or both weeks, we give out bonuses based off of attendance and different metrics that we do.
So let's go back to this. I'm
sorry. That is a big pour, Chris.
That's all right.
You want a bigger glass?
I got
gout
pills.
light.
I got
mini
pills.
gout.
I got pills for that. Don't worry about it.
All the pills.
I get them all. So let's go back to this. So again, mosquito spray. So dead of the summer, it's hotter than hell. You got to put on a suit. You got to go out there, you walk in somebody's backyard and spray this thing when it's 110 degrees here in Georgia in the summer. So you're out there doing that. Going back to it, would you recommend to somebody that they stay out of that, stay in the office and just do all that? Or do they have to get out there, feel it, touch it, do that job, and then go back in the office?
I loved being in the field because it gave me more clout with all of our technicians.
So one of those things, like, you can't BS me because I've done it, guys. And they're like, hey, and look at the boss man's out there doing it.
And I have, and I know that there's within the Mosquito franchise organization, there's several successful owners who've never been in the field. It was something for me. I wanted the experience because I wanted to be able to help train our office staff of the way to talk to customers to best support our technicians in the field.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know what the technicians in the field were doing, it's really hard to train our office staff of the right things to say or not say, and the things to help coach our customers on. That we've got to know that experience.
I think you got to get bit by a dog once in the field to go
get
out
a
there
dog to chase you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Now you can go, hey, boss man, you can do that.
You can.
I can't watch that. I'll jump that fence.
Yeah.
And I have.
Yeah.
That's before the gut-like symptoms.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I mean, you got to be out there doing that. I think it's a slower way to grow for a lot of people. I know because when I did that as well, I envy guys who never have gone in the field and just sat there and, I'm a book guy. I know how to make the phone ring. I can do it. And yeah, you can scale quicker. But for me, experientially, I needed to have that because it also helped me when we do training where I can say I can walk the walk and talk the talk. You know, I've done it both. I mean, you want to cut some crown? Let's go. You know, you want to hang some rock? I can do that too. And just, I think having that, I think it does throw a little clout your way with the team, especially in home services.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
But did you find it? Do you envy people who didn't have to do that when you talk to these other Mosquito Joe guys who are very?
I don't. A lot of them, it's their second, third, fourth career, and it's just an investment for them. And I'm just in a different stage of my life.
Yeah,
and so I enjoy to work. I enjoy what we do, and I enjoy being able to be out and get to know customers and get to know our staff. So I truly enjoy doing that.
I think that's 100% the healthiest way to do business. Don't you think? I mean,
well, of course I do. Yeah, I did it.
No, I mean, from your employee standpoint, you're 100% right. When a customer calls in and has an issue, there you can smell it. There's a stink on a customer on a business where the ownership is just there to make money.
Yeah.
Because you're at that point, if they're just there to make money, then you're just a mark.
Yeah. No, I
at
totally
that
agree.
point. Yeah. Whereas you're 100% invested in it. You've seen everything.
And that was the thing that made it so easy for us to do Christmas lights. I mean, if I would have been so removed from the business, it would have been really easy to say, hey guys, good luck. Find something to do this winter. Go ship packages. Go do something. We're bringing you back in the spring. Because I'd been in the field and done the work and rubbed, quote unquote, rubbed shoulders with the technicians that we had. It was more like, I care about you and I care about your family and I care about your kids. And I know that you have bills just like I have bills all year long. I want to be able to invest in you better. And also our next hire, I want it to be a better quality person, because what we found is when I put a job out for a seasonal job, the recruits that we get in for that are people who are just looking for a job immediately. And that's not always the best employees. But when I put a job out for year-round employment, we get higher caliber employees. We get higher caliber candidates because it's actually a career move for them. It's something they can see. I have a young family, or I'm making a move in my career. I want something different. I want to go from a seasonal job, or I bounce from seasonal to seasonal, to a permanent full-time employee that is able to provide me year-round hours. It's a big deal for us.
The hard part for me is when I started the Trusted Toolbox, I was singularly focused on handyman and then growing it eventually into a remodeling business. But the thing that just kills me with what he did was he went Mosquito Joe's, here's the franchise. So I'm using my brain for this for now. And then I go to shift gears because you just don't, and Alan, you hit on it. You're like, well, isn't there a big gap between spraying for mosquitoes in Georgia and then doing lights? The answer is no. They're already they're putting lights up before October 1.
I was thinking the gap after Christmas before the mosquitoes start.
Well, they got to go back and take them
So we
down.
got to take them down. And so we spend the entire month of January and the first week of February taking lights down.
And when do you start spraying?
And then we start spraying middle of February.
Oh,
So it works in the Southeast with what
Yeah.
we've got and how it works. But good. But how did you find a way to compartmentalize? Going back to the Gerber thing with the
Yeah.
E-Myth,
Yeah.
You got to be able to compartmentalize if you want to be able to be successful.
Yeah.
But you're doing big picture thinking, manager and technician a little bit, and then you got to switch and do it for another business altogether. How were you able to pull that off year one?
It's a great question. I mean, year one, we didn't do a lot. We didn't do a lot in lights.
really?
We really didn't do a lot
Great question.
in lights our first year.
Okay.
And it was a lot more headaches and a lot more issues. That's why we created the franchise. So we have Lighting Pros franchise, which is our Christmas lights franchise. And it's really with the intention of helping establish seasonal businesses feel the need that they have in the off season for revenue and for staff.
Beautiful. So the first year, you were really more focused on Mosquito Joe's,
Correct.
and so
And then
you had
figuring out the first. But I'd been installing lights for my wife for almost 10 years, so I knew some of the light industry. And I love to learn, and so I'm pretty handy when it comes to that.
Go back to the lighting thing, and this is where I was still thinking. I'm looking at his logo, and it just hit me. I think the best logo out there would have to be the Chevy Chase, things all over them. And you go Christmas Vacation Lighting Company.
That's right.
That would be the one. I think that would be killer. So you said you were doing. So was the Efird house the place that everybody went for Christmas light viewing?
It wasn't that big, no. But every year we did add. Every year we were adding to it, and just as my skill set grew. And so as we learn, there's some accreditation that you can get in the Christmas light industry. And so we went through some of those our second year in business. And so that actually helped us.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
There's a Christmas light accreditation company group.
Think
about that
so
for a minute,
that was good. That was good additional training. But really for me, it was the networking. And it was getting in touch with other Christmas lights owners and saying, hey, because I did the same thing with Mosquito Joe. Those 100 calls that I made, it was a lot of, hey, what would you do in my position? What are things that you would do differently in your first year or two of business versus what you are doing right now? And that really, really helped us.
Is the listener going to hear that?
The
Angel just got its wings.
That's what it was.
What
Thank you,
criteria do you need to qualify for to get accredited by the Christmas Light Association of America?
There's a training course that they do. It's an in-person course. It's a few days, and they take you through all the book work and then all of the installation work, and then they're actually walking you through. Here's a way to properly do this. You're not going to burn down a home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, if you think about it for just a minute, going back to the Christmas Vacation Chevy Chase thing, we've all been there. I don't know about you, but growing up in Michigan with a father who, when one light goes out, they all go out. And I mean, Christmas set up in my house, which was, my mother was a Christmas freak. We had at one point we had 17 trees up.
Wow. Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
No, not full Christmas trees, but different sizes, styles.
Trees. Yeah. Wow.
My mom was a Christmas freak. And so Christmas setup started for us the week after Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd have it all set up. And this is, of course, today's world now. They're setting it up, the day after Halloween. But we would start then, and then we'd always do the real Christmas tree. I'd have to work the Christmas tree a lot for with my dad.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to string the lights, and I was the oldest, and so I'd take the brunt of it. And back in those days, man, those lights, right? One goes out, they all go out, and he just would start screaming and yelling at me. And if I didn't put the light in the right spot, and then he'd tell me I broke the light bulb. I'm like, I didn't touch the thing. But it was trauma for me.
Yeah,
setting it all up. But which is why I probably would hire lighting pros today, because right now I stick 3 spotlights in my yard.
Yeah,
the spotlights are good.
I'm not big on the heights.
Yeah, anymore now. Yeah. All right. So you developed this. How many years have you had Mosquito Joe's?
So we started in 2017.
So 17. Here we're on 23. Listen, so 6 in.
Yeah.
You start lighting pros,
season.
And that was the name right off the bat.
Yeah.
You had the business plan built for that as well.
Yeah.
You go dropping all that stuff, doing all this. And today, 6 years into it with Lighting Pros, what's the mix of business?
We are almost 50-50 in our mix of business. Our Christmas lights business is doubled every year.
That is amazing.
And we are on pace to do that again this year.
And what percentage of your customers do both?
So we took a turn in our business in 2020, 2019, 2020 time, and started focusing more on the commercial side just because it took less staff. It took more time, but it took less staff to do the work. And so our mix of business is about 90% commercial, about 10% residential.
Wow.
And so you talk about people putting up lights like today. Well, we've been putting up lights since September. Yeah. Because we do complexes and shopping centers and big resorts and things of that nature. So we have a handful. We've really been respectful of Mosquito Joe is very protective of their brand, which I completely understand. We're very protective of our Lighting Pros brand. And so there have been some owners that have tried to say, hey, we run your local Mosquito Joe and we also do yard cleanup. And it's commingling of the brands, which Mosquito Joe cannot protect the secondary brand. And so we have not done that. We just genuinely said, I like to sleep at night. And so I like to do things above board. And we've not gone after our Mosquito Joe customers because of the franchise agreement within Mosquito Joe.
So how does the marketing work? So do you have completely separate people selling Mosquito Joes that are selling the Christmas lights? Okay.
Yeah. And then within our office staff, we have a software system that we've worked with and a quoting position that we've got that we actually are able to utilize our existing office staff from Mosquito Joe that they transition slowly throughout the year. Or late summer, we transition some of our staff from Mosquito Joe to Christmas lights. And then this time of year, we transition all of our staff over to Christmas lights to man the phones.
Well, Alan brought this up, and that was let's dive into the marketing part of this. Then we'll come back to how to scale at this point. In the marketing side, almost all commercial. Do you have people going out and soliciting, cold calling, pulling handles? Are you, they say in the cold calling business?
I do some of that just because I enjoy doing that. But then we have kind of our marketing system that we've developed over the years that's part of our franchise brand that is somewhat direct mail, a lot of digital, and then redirect ads. We've got some geofencing that we do that really helps us on a lot of our big projects. So that's something that's really
that's a $2 word.
Geofencing.
He dropped such an industry lingo term on us right now.
He was
trying to Elon Musk, right? I
geofence.
All right, what the hell is geofencing?
So that's where we do our paid SEO ads are established around. So we have the opportunity to work with Ritz-Carlton, and we geofence around their property, and so. We haven't done that a lot because I get a lot of international clients. And so being here in Georgia doesn't really help us a lot. But what we do is we redirect them ads because they've already seen our fabulous display, which really helps us. And so for us, the kind of the marketing mix, commercial early feeds your residential back in.
Yeah. And so talking with Matthew, he wants to do more of the commercial. Again, I think that's genius because anybody who works in residential and home services, as we do, realize that people are freaking nuts, and I don't have to deal with many nutballs, and it's not really their money, so it's not as emotional.
Yeah,
and that's really what it comes down to.
And it becomes an ROI, right?
Now let's talk about how you really market it. That's this is genius.
So this is the way that we market this to. We do about 3 dozen Chick-fil-A's here in Georgia, and the emphasis is about bringing more customers to their property, and they stay longer because of the lights. So as they stay longer, they spend more, and we see that consistently over and over and over with different businesses, places of businesses, jewelry stores.
They actually can measure that.
Yeah,
he has.
So
I saw the presentation. You got to talk about this because this, guys, is mind blowing. Think about this in your own business. I don't care what you do, but this, when he did this to me, I sat there in the back and I was like, oh my God, this is flipping awesome.
So there was an A/B test between 2 different Longhorns that was one of them installed lights and one of them did not. And the one that installed lights saw an 8% bump in year-over-year sales.
8% bump year over year. That's 12 months. He's talking about installing lights and showing them and presenting them for just 2 months.
2 months.
8% over 12 on a 2-month and a small investment. In the case of, again, if I'm running a franchise and I'm running a commercial outfit and I got a restaurant, God love you if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you're listening to this podcast. I'm going to still tell you you're in the hardest damn business in the world. Okay. But you did it. So you put lights in and you get 8% over the year. That means that those 2 months went nuts. I think that's genius. And after he said that, I heard this about a year ago. I was out and I was sitting in a restaurant. And I started looking around and I was like, yeah, I feel more homey, more festive,
but you feel more at home. You gather more. There's more cocktails are shared, more appetizers are bought, more desserts are bought because you stay longer. And you're more willing to go there and go through the experience. So a lot of our restaurants that have drive-throughs, we do a lot of emphasis on the drive-through, especially during COVID, because a lot of our specifically Chick-fil-A's were drive-through only. And so we are creating this incredible experience in the drive-through lane that they were able to serve their guests as they came through. And so the Chick-fil-A lines were just ridiculous.
Do you do the Chick-fil-A's around here?
Yeah.
The one on Peachtree Parkway?
Yeah.
Sonneck?
Yeah.
I've noticed how good that looked.
All right.
Yeah.
So for our listeners in our 15 continents, we're still here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so one of Alan's local Chick-fil-A's, he noticed how cool the drive-through
Yeah, no.
was.
Yeah, and it made me just drink a lot more of the peppermint milkshakes.
There you go.
You know what?
Yeah.
You went there going, I'm just going to get a number one. I'm just
And
gonna
then
get
you
a number
saw the
one.
lights and you said,
And then boom, I got to have a
boom,
peppermint
I got to
milkshake.
have peppermint milkshake.
Because these lights are entrancing me. So do your
Well,
lights
no,
have like a
I-
little code that they're like,
I wish if we could figure that out, that would be
you know, buy this
White and
franchise,
impressive.
guys. If you want to get into a franchise, he will figure this
So
out.
I got to
promise
tell you
he
the
will.
story. That Chick-fil-A, my middle son went to grad school in Europe, and he got himself a Portuguese girlfriend, sweetest girl you've ever met. And she finally came and visited us last year. And one of the things that she wanted to do was ride in a truck and go to a drive-through.
there you go.
And so we went to your
There you
Chick-fil-A
go.
because of, and then we got our peppermint milkshakes and went and looked at Christmas lights.
There you go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. You know what? The Germans think they have everything figured out about Christmas and the way
They
it
don't.
started. But no, what? That Chick-fil-A's got it figured out. And I guarantee you, if you buy into Christmas Lighting Pros, look it up, Lighting Pros, he will, I'm confident in this. Matthew will crack that code. We can call it AI because that's the cool thing now. And but he'll be able to strobe light your ass. So when you're going through, next thing you know, you're like, I don't want a number one. I want two number ones
Two number
and
ones.
two
That's
peppermint
That's right.
milkshakes. So when I drive out of there, yes, I
Yes,
want
yes.
two. I want
I will
upsize.
contribute
I
to
want
a
Upsize.
charity.
Upside. Yes.
but I think genius again about being able to do it. I'm just the marketing part of that. When I heard that story, is because I listened to your story about that. I went back and took that to mine. I'm like, and that is all about the customer experience.
Yeah.
You are helping that business owner again. God love you if you're running a restaurant. If you're doing that, you're helping them with this major pain point, and that is, how do I increase sales?
Yeah.
How do I, serve a great product? I can do the product. I'll make great. I mean, I was a chef when I started my business, or maybe you bought into one, but now you're helping them figure out how to get more customers
And we
on cheap.
We do a lot of medical offices, dental practices, chiropractic offices. It just is bringing focus to your business.
Yeah.
And so all night long, I mean, people were taking pictures in front of your business, free marketing for you. It's
I've been
bringing-
at the doctor a few times lately.
I was going to say, does that make you want a little more elective surgery, Chris?
I mean, maybe.
I do. I perhaps colonoscopy. Hey,
There you
doc,
go.
throw
Hey,
me some
doc.
lights. Hey, I'm feeling better. Hey,
right.
all right.
feeling better.
This is awesome. All right, so let's go back. One of the things I wanted to talk about with you is, what was the hardest part of getting 6 years into this? I mean, again, guys, you're going to look him up. I know you are. Wildly successful. Of course, we all are wildly successful on the outside looking in. I'm wildly successful after 16 years. You just didn't want to see me the first 15 years. Of course, Matthew has. But what was the hardest part of scaling? I mean, looking back on it now, 6 years into it.
It's a great question. I think one of the things two great questions. One of the
Hang on a
issues,
second. Chris is having a moment. Let's just let him dance. And
Okay, now we're back.
one of the issues that we've had in scaling, especially specifically for our Christmas lights business, because of the rate at which we're scaling, is we had a hard time a couple of years ago bringing on new crew leads, and we've developed a system, of training to get them onboarded and to try to be strategic in the way that we bring them on, instead of just there's the delegate versus dump. Do we just dump things on them and say, hey, I hope you're going to figure this out? And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I can go figure it out because that's what I enjoy to do. But somebody who I'm paying $20, $25, $30 an hour, that's not their mindset. And so really helping them lay out a process and a system that makes them successful. So that's probably been the biggest issue that we've had in scaling is as you bring on in our industry, a new crew, there's a lot of value in that, but there's a lot of work that has to be done to invest in the crew lead because the success of that crew rises and falls on the crew lead.
So with the growth that you've had, are you worried at all about being able to staff it? I mean, it's a tough market for everybody to find good people, and you're hiring people that even though it's year round, there's still kind of a seasonality about it. And half the year you're on a roof and the other half you're outside getting hot. You know, I mean, so.
Yes and no. Yes, in that we definitely have staffing struggles. No, in that this year we're fully hired. And this is the first year that we've actually turned away help, which is really a huge blessing to be in.
What do you attribute that to?
Our culture. We've really invested a lot over the last 3 years in building a culture of our team and investing in our team. And so
when you say culture, what do you mean? Because I mean, it could mean so many different things.
Sure. So we do one of the things that we do.
All right.
Hey, that's a great question.
Okay. All right.
I don't
2-1.
No,
2-1.
no, I'm
We're
not
not
going to
keeping
take
score.
that one because I had to ask for
That's
it.
a great question.
You did. You actually, you didn't ask. You begged. But okay, let's go back.
So on that great question, we started doing something a few years ago where we do an all staff day once a month because for our Mosquito Joe, we're spread out all throughout North Georgia. And then during Christmas lights, we bring all of our Mosquito Joe guys in, and then we also bring in additional seasonal folks to work with us. And they come from all over North Georgia area. And so we pay everybody to come in for the day, and we do 5 things. We do a company update. So we want to be transparent in how the company's doing, how we're doing as an organization year over year and this year. We also do a culture celebration. And so we have our core values that we talk about every single week. And then we pick every single employee for the last 30 days when our last meeting was, and we find something that they exemplified that core value. And then we celebrate that in that meeting. And it's, hey, here's Mike, and here's the way that he worked with integrity, because integrity is one of our things. Do the right thing every time, no matter the cost. Here's something that Mike did. He messed up on a job. He went back. He fixed it. He told us. He told the homeowner. Great job, Mike. And the more that we've celebrated that, the more that culture has risen to the top. And so we do the culture celebration. We do a professional development, which is how can we better ourselves as technicians? How can we better ourselves as office staff? How can we continue to get better at our craft and what we do? And then we do a personal development. How can we just be better as individuals? So one of the things that we say is, anytime we hire somebody new, I say you're going to work for us for a season, and I want that season to be as long as it can be. But I know that you're going to move on to something else, and God bless you when you go. But I want you to be better when you've worked here, and so we're going to invest in you as a person, because we believe that the better that you become, the better that you are able to serve our customers, which means the better our business is as a whole. And then lastly, we eat and have fun. So we play games.
Amen to that one.
Amen to that one.
Eat and drink.
Chris
dozed off for a while.
No, I'm writing all my stuff down. I mean, come on, this stuff is gold. Again, we have talked about this a lot. You have a culture in your company, whether you picked it or not.
Amen.
And you have got to figure it out. And Matthew's very intentional about what he's doing to put his culture in force. And it's so hard with a distributed workforce. I don't care if you're doing computer programming and you got computer programmers all over the world. You've got to find a way to build your culture, what you have. And this is so big. This isn't home services. This is everybody.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So we typically have younger guys that work with us, guys and gals. And so they love Ricky Bobby. So and our slogan is, if you ain't first, you're last, which is feedback, integrity, respect, shared growth, and teamwork. And so we talk about that every single week. And it's been something that we try to live that out. And I try to, first and foremost, as the leader, one of the things that Chris used to say in class is bottlenecks are always at the top. It's a Peter Drucker quote.
Yep.
And that's
Great
something
one.
that I've really taken to heart, as I'm the rate limiting step for growth within my organization. But then also my management team, they are the rate limiting growth step for their team. And so I need to invest in them to help them grow and expand, so that way they can be more successful.
All right, say the first again: feedback, integrity,
respect, shared growth, and teamwork.
That's first.
That's
I got
first.
it. I figured that out.
First.
But I want to know who dressed up as Ricky Bobby in the team meeting.
Oh man, we haven't done that yet.
You've got to
we
do
haven't
that,
done
dude.
that, but I'm probably going to.
You have
I normally
to.
say what I'll do with my hands, and so that always they like.
That's good. We go together like tuna fish and cigarettes.
That's right.
Shake and bake,
baby. Shake and bake.
Let's go.
Shake and
I'll
bake.
tell you
Shake
what.
first and last.
So one of the big things that you just did that I think is key is you have to talk to your employees in the manner they want to be talked to, and know that they're part of something bigger.
Yeah.
So he says, here you're part of something bigger. This is what we do. And that's Matthew in spades, especially when it comes to purpose and leadership. But you got to talk to them on their level. And you hit Ricky Bobby. And so you might hate Will Ferrell. You might hate that show. But guess what? Those guys, those ladies, they dig it.
Yeah.
And even if they hate it completely, they still dig the concept, because we all talk about that. Because I know somebody who absolutely hates Will Ferrell and Shake and Bake, but yet when we do that, she actually has to join in with us.
That's right.
That's the wife. But I know it rings with these guys, because you've got to talk their language.
Yeah.
And to build the culture, you can say words like integrity. And I have the same word in my culture, and that's integrity. And I was told by a business coach that doesn't work. I'm like, yeah, here's my definition of integrity: do the right thing when nobody's watching, because you are always on your own. And you said do the right thing no matter the cost.
Yeah.
That changes the word integrity, because we all have it, right?
Yeah.
You're all listening to this podcast and you're trying to better yourself and think about things, and we all have it, right? Because if you don't have it, you're dead. I mean, to me, you are. But when you define it for these kind of guys and the people that we're talking about working with, that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
And hammering that with them is huge. I love that. That's great.
And by celebrating it every month, we're showing them different examples of how someone lived out integrity, how someone lived out respect. So respect is treat others the way you want to be treated, the golden rule. Share growth is be better today than you were yesterday. Teamwork's enjoy serving customers and coworkers.
So you call it everybody in that room?
Yeah.
That's awesome. How many people do you have in that room?
We get 25.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long call out.
Yeah.
I can't do that. That's why I sit in the back. And
You don't know everybody's name.
I do. Come on. I was just
okay. So I'm not the one that always does it. So our management team pulls out. So the employees that they're over, they pull that rises up to me as I'm not the one, or make sure that's clear. I'm not the one that sees everything.
Oh, okay.
From that perspective.
See, it's okay that one of us is busy, growing his family and building a faith-based family, and one of us is out there making goat legs. Speaking of which, I just booked my next Vegas trip, but we're going back to it. So
in the La Mia suite,
we don't know where we're going to stay yet. I got my flight booked. I'm going out there for the going to Vegas. Vegas is where the Super Bowl is going to be this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I read that right. I mean, but we're going out there for the divisional playoffs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
are you planning on being in it?
You talk about my Lions or my Falcons?
Either.
Lions, yes. Falcons, never.
Never.
No. I mean, in fact, that was my Halloween costume last night. Was I had my Lions jersey underneath a Pimp Daddy hat, and I flashed everybody.
There
and I said, and I put it out on Facebook. I said, caption this phrase, or who am I? And you went, you're a closet Lions fan. I'm like, my entire life, my friend. I literally owned no Honolulu Boo for years, but I actually know how to support a loser. Yeah. So
there you go.
Where did Honolulu Blue come from? Why do they call it that?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't have a clue.
Two.
You know what?
Hey, you got two.
Oh, I just gave you
two.
Oh my God, he suckered me into that one. Yeah, I will tell you the problem with the Lions. Still, I'm going to go back to, and this is a great leadership lesson. It's ownership and leadership. It started at the top, and the Fords did a great disservice to our city by owning that company, that team. It's been horrible. And by the way, if you ever go to Dearborn, Michigan, which is where my mother's from, and I grew up just 30 miles west of there, is when you say you work there, you work for the Fords. You didn't say you work for the Ford Motor Company. You said you work for Ford's.
Wow.
Because that's the culture and the family that they had.
Wow.
And this is in the 80s and 90s.
Wow.
Yeah. So back to culture and back to tying this all back together.
Yeah.
But when they owned the team, they have done a horrible job. They finally have relinquished enough where they're actually allowing people to make, and smart people to make good decisions. General manager on down to the yellow. So that's another.
Do you like Jared Goff?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think he could be a Super Bowl winning quarterback again. Cool. I'll tell you who I really like, Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
he's perfect for Detroit.
Yeah,
he is Detroit. I mean, if Alan loves to hate that he went to school in Michigan, because he grew up in Oregon, but he knows that Detroit's really it's the epicenter of the world. It was actually. I just got to tell my kids that
it used to be.
It was. No, there's a great special. Here's another nugget for you. If you go out there and Google Aerial America, they do all the states, and then they do a bunch of things. But you can do any state you want. I've listened to I've watched the Georgia one, the Michigan one, the state of Washington one, because I lived out there too. It is fascinating how much they go through the history of each state. Yeah, cool. There's stuff in Georgia that it literally is 2 hours from us. I've never been to.
Wow.
I know. Here I am in Atlanta. I've been here since 2001, 22 years now.
Wow.
And I fancy myself kind of a historian guy. I love that stuff. And I have never been to all these places. I'm like, oh my God, I got to do it.
No.
But so bad. Anyway, do I like Goff? I do like him. Do I think the Lions get the Super Bowl? I'm not sure yet, because I'm still, I'm so jaded, but I love Dan Campbell, because this phrase, you don't have to come hunting for us. We'll be on the front porch.
Yeah.
Think about that in business.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great line?
Yeah.
I mean, as we're in business, it's not, for me, it's very adversarial in business. I mean, I like to go to battle every day and solve problems. I have a feeling that Matthew goes a little bit differently into battle. His mentality is way different than mine, but obviously wildly successful. So let's get back to some more lessons that we can learn from Matthew. All right. So you got the Lighting Pros. You've now franchised the idea. How many franchises do you have?
We have 3 locations.
I already have 3.
Yeah, already have 3.
Bringing a concept to franchise is no small deal.
It is not. No. So one of the things that we did was we took our experience as a franchisee and tried to model our franchisor around things that I wished the Mosquito Joe franchise did. And so we tried to develop things that would benefit our franchisees well, while also providing success for the franchisor as well. Because we're not doing this for free, obviously. But it's trying to marry that, instead of I'm going to squeeze as much value out of every franchisee as I can. And it's more along the lines of, when you're successful, I'm successful, which is ultimately what a franchise should be.
Now, how much of the franchising piece have you outsourced?
In terms of what?
Well,
so I didn't do any of the legal, any of the financials. Is that what you're saying?
Well, and then there's the finding the franchisees. There's the franchisee support. I mean, are they getting the same people that are supporting your personal business with Mosquito Joe's? And
no, so some of that we've brought on additional team that's solely focused on that. That solely focused on a franchise. And then personally, I'm doing the client development right now, and we're building out a client development team. Kind of goes back to the initial of the technicians. It is, I didn't just run into the franchise, the consultant route, because I wanted to be able to understand kind of more of our culture, what we're doing, and also the way to sell this appropriately, instead of just, hey, who's got enough money to sign the check to buy the franchise.
Well, and it's a similar thing. You build a culture as a franchisor.
Yeah.
And there's just a litany of franchises where they just basically gave a franchise to whoever would stroke a check, and then the horse is out of the barn, and whereas if you're careful about it, you can actually develop the same kind of culture that you have within your own business within a franchise system, even though you're not you can't manage them.
Yeah.
I mean,
that 100% agree.
Yeah.
Great point.
Chris has had his
finger light.
I'm not putting my finger up, Alan, because I'm gout light. I'm putting my finger up because you're talking so much, and it's not about me this time.
I guess
let's get back to
we need
franchising.
to point out which finger you're holding up.
Yeah, well, I did not tell Alan he was number 1. No, I politely, I was trying to let him know, that I love this topic, but I don't think we want to go all the way as the franchising topic with Lighting Pros. I think we want to invite Matthew back. So if you're interested in that Lighting Pros
You just want another bottle of liquor.
hell yeah. I
There you
mean,
go.
I mean, we got to monetize this sucker some way.
There you go.
At least I can get drunk and keep my gout-like symptoms up.
There you go.
By the way, you just prop your feet up and it all goes away.
Really?
Oh, old man shit. All right, here we go. Back to Matthew. Matthew, how can people find you out there online?
Yeah. So find me on LinkedIn, Matthew Warren Efird. Also Matthew at thelightingpros.com. It's my email. My cell phone 678-807-9410. Happy to talk to anybody. We love what we do. Really started out in this as a passion to serve our employees, and I still have that passion. But I'm finding this deep passion of serving other business owners that are struggling in a seasonal business. So that's really, really been very fulfilling as an opportunity to continue to give back, which has been exciting.
Dude, this guy is so deep. I've always enjoyed being with him. In fact, I can't ever see him playing football and getting completely mean and mad.
That was an issue I had, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was big and I was strong, but
I'm sorry.
I didn't have.
What was the issue?
I broke your collarbone. I'm sorry.
I played offensive line,
But
and so it was,
you weren't mean and mad.
I took the perspective of my job is to protect my quarterback, and so that helped me to get in the mentality. But I played with guys that were like, "I'm going to take your head off," and I respect that, but that was just not me.
So my football career was the other side. Yeah. And my dad, he still to this day asked that question. How could you go out there? I said, I just flipped a switch.
Yeah.
You were Ricky Bobby. No, not Ricky Bobby.
No,
you were Waterboy.
Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher.
I was Bobby Boucher. Yeah. And clearly, mentally, I pretty close. But no, I was, yeah, I mean, I went out there and I was 6'2", 240, playing high school ball. That was college. In high school, it's like 6'1", 200. I always had that small man mentality. I watched some of the VHS tapes.
There you go.
That's how old we're. And I was like, "Oh, I did that. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay." I didn't remember.
Wow.
I mean, I was just it was one of those things.
Yeah.
I love playing football. I love sports. So it's a different mentality, right? Yeah. And look, here we are. We're talking, and
here we are.
Two different mentalities. However, two successful businessmen.
That's right.
One of us just took a lot longer to get there. All right. But Matthew, we're happy to have you here, but we can't let you go without you answering our famous 4 questions at the end of each one. And this guy is well read. Alan, are you ready? What is a book you would recommend to our audience?
There's several. The one that I would probably land on, or say this, the book that I've given out the most over the last 12 months. It's by Jimmy Collins, called Creative Followership. I've given it to all of my staff, and it felt really odd first giving it to them. He's the only non-Kathy CEO of Chick-fil-A. And he wrote about his experience being the right-hand man to Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A. And he wrote about what he learned about being the person who's next in command, but not in command. And it is a amazing book, just about overall.
Dude, that's such a flipping gold nugget. I mean,
it is so good.
We're all not going to be unabashed. We talked about Chick-fil-A. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, Alan actually turned me on to the book, and I read his book. Alan's been to the headquarters. I know you've been to the headquarters.
We do their lights,
and you do their lights. That's what I was going to bring up. Here we go. A little humble brag. Matthew says, "You know what? I really don't like to kill people." But by the way,
he just potted the table.
Boom, 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 bam. Follow this.
Yeah.
See, I'll be over there going, dance, dance, dance. How about me now? Right? What do you think about that? But no, he doesn't do that. All right. So that's a great book. That is one that has not been recommended in any of our podcasts.
No.
And that is classic. And I'm going to put that on the list too. That's
great
awesome.
book. Great book. I mean, I've got several more. You
know what? We're going to bring you back because you're too close and you bring good bourbon. So we're bringing you back. All right. What's the favorite feature of your house?
I love, as you walk in our front door, to the left is my office. I built built-in bookshelves there, and I've got a lot of books because I enjoy reading, but also got a lot of pictures of my boys and my wife, and it's just a sweet space for me. I have my quiet time there in the morning, but I also work there a lot of days. And then across, if you turn to the right, there is what we call our cozy room. And it used to be a dining room. We converted it into kind of a catch-all. and I built a kind of a daybed sitting area with bookshelves on it. And it used to be really pretty. And my oldest son is 6. So we have 6, 3, and a 1-year-old at home. We have 4 boys, but 3 at home. And it's got markers on it and it's all cut up, but I love it. And so it's just a sweet place for us as a family to congregate and to be.
This could be a potential gold nugget from you, but talk about your quiet time in the morning. How much time do you just...
It's typically about an hour of me in the morning. So I read, I pray, and then it's just more of getting my mind, giving myself some time, some margin to think. And so a lot of
if you don't give yourself that hour, does it impact that day?
Much. And so I find myself being more proactive when I do that. I'm more proactive during the day, and I respond more graciously to my staff. I'm more measured in the way that I respond to my wife, to my sons, and also to my employees, as well as our customers. I can be more proactive instead of just reactive. If I wake up and it's immediate start and I don't have a time to kind of start my day, I'm just so much more reactive.
Doggy, that's discipline right there. And you don't know it until you feel it. I went to a conference and it said, all you had to do is meditate 5 minutes a day and you won't have a heart attack. So I did it twice. And
so far so good.
So far
so
good. Here you
so
are.
Here I am.
You only got like
I only got and I'm only on 4 other blood pressure medications and doing it. But guys, listen to that one, because that one, if you're still hanging in with us right now, listen to this one, because this is gold shit too right here. It's going down. He says an hour. Even if you just took 5 minutes, I guarantee you will be more measured throughout the day. For me right now, it's working out in the morning. And if I don't get that workout in the morning, I am absolutely shorter with everybody. And I can get short in a heartbeat, as Ellen knows. But I think that's gold right there, talking about that. So
early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yeah.
So we're really taking over that Ben Franklin quote. Took that to heart a few years ago. Started waking up earlier, going to bed earlier. Keeps me out of trouble and allows me to be productive for my business, for myself, for my marriage, and for our boys.
You know, I listened to that Ben Franklin book too, and I remember him being a little promiscuous. So, no, I guess we all listen to different stuff. But no,
he also took a naked air bath every day too, Chris. You know, you can just pick and choose what you want out of every.
And at the end, I mean, he made it to. You know how long he lived and what the average lifespan?
Yeah,
was
like
that
twice.
Yeah, he was like, he lived 2.5 lifetimes. Yeah, I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
All right, and I love the fact that before we got into this, Matthew started talking about his young family growing up, and we happened to have a pool in our house, and he started asking me questions about that. Always inquisitive, and always proving that old men love to talk about stuff they have. So I think if we have him back on the podcast, his favorite feature will be the pool that he has for his family. After I've been telling him. All right, that was cool. All right, we got to go into the next one. You ready? What's a customer service pet peeve of yours when you're the customer?
That my business is frustrating to you. That there is nothing. So my wife marrying my wife is the second best decision I've ever made. First, my relationship with Jesus Christ, but second is my wife. And she is so gracious to me. She'll put her hand on my shoulder or my arm. And it's like, that's my time of just, hey, why don't you take a breath? But I get immediately fired up when somebody gets frustrated with me when I ask them to do their job. And so the other day was picking up some subs from a restaurant or a sub shop, and was reading off the order and literally read off the first one. And the girl goes, I can't believe you ordered that.
Really? Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And I just looked at her and I said, is there something wrong with that sub? And she goes, no, it's just, I have to do so much work to make that sub. And I said, and so this long, awkward pause. I just looked at her, and I'd had my quiet time that morning, and I'd had my time. And so I was a little more measured. And I said, that's a sub I'd like to get. Do I need to go somewhere else and get it?
So Chris, what would you have said in that scenario?
All right. So to be fair, here's what I think. It's not her fault. It's her boss's fault.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It is such a culture problem.
Yeah.
That I would have looked at her. Now, that being said, in that case, looking back at it, I measured.
Here it comes.
Let me tell you what happened last night.
You didn't have your quiet time.
So last
You got
night,
a little gout light going on.
I did. So last night was Halloween as we're laying this one down. And I took our golf cart out into our neighborhood. And I had paid somebody to put the wheels on my golf cart. I didn't do it myself. I would have done it myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to pay them to do it. The wheels start coming loose. I am halfway across the sub. So I go to our security guys because we have security here. I'm like, do you have a tire lug iron? They said no. I said, you're driving a Toyota. You're driving a Chevy Colorado. You have a lug nut. Do we have one? I'm like, and so I said, well, and that's where my wife said, you're going to stop now. And I went after him. And so I was nice, and I got the everything tightened up when we got back home. So I would tell you hypothetically what I would have said, but let me tell you realistically what I said. And I was a smart ass and a half. No, we don't have that. And so I was like, you know what? And at the time I should have said, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's your boss's fault. But at the time, I was with two chirping ladies who had just got done making a video of me, one being the daughter and one being the wife. And I was incensed because I was halfway across with my daughter saying, well, there you go again, Dad. Another golf cart ride where it breaks down. Okay. And she's back, everybody. Okay.
Do better, Dad.
Oh my God. It's
Dad.
always easy to answer how you should have responded.
Yeah.
And what Matthew said. What would I have done? I mean, I think we all know what I would have done.
Yeah.
I would have went, yeah, we're done. Bye-bye. I don't care what the name of your place is, but I'm going to go to the next place.
Yeah.
Even if it's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have walked right back out.
That's the thing that it always bothers me the most. It is when I have somebody that is, I'm relied on their service, and that it looks like I'm a disservice to them.
So when I get that feedback in my business, this is why I have the Dement doll at the office, because trash cans were taking a lot of beatings at the house. When I hear that it was hard to work with your company, that just absolutely incenses me.
Yeah.
And especially in the consumer business. I mean, we deal with a lot of crazy people, but when you hear that, you're like, we are here to make it easy to work with us.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to help them with things they can't do.
Yeah.
And we're working on their number one asset. We're working on their house.
Yeah.
I mean, you're spraying for mosquitoes so they can enjoy their backyard.
Yeah.
This is their place. This is their solitude. This is their sanctuary. This is everything. And if you don't think like that, you're missing the boat.
We say every week we're in the customer service business. We just happen to do outdoor pest control and outdoor lighting.
Yeah.
Our guys can quote that. Every single week we talk about that.
Yeah, I think that it's hard. Donald Rumsfeld said this, and Rummy said it when the wars. And I happen to have a lot of guys who served, buddies of mine, and so I followed it very closely. I did not serve; they did, but Rummy said it the best, and he said, "You know what? In these wars, we have to be right all the time. The insurgents only have to be right once.
Yeah. And
with customers,
they
only have to be right once.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't let them come in.
Yeah.
You've got to build that process, that sanctuary that's going to say, look, I'm coming to help you do something you can't do.
Yeah.
Because especially in your world, I don't know the chemicals. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Right. In mosquito spray. I don't want to put up lights. I literally put in 3 spotlights every year just because I don't want to put up lights in my house.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do it. And here I am at this age, in our business, you don't have the tools, you don't have the time, you don't have the skills.
Yeah.
Well, I have lots of skills. I'm very handy. And you mentioned it yourself, but when you hire somebody to do it, you just hope that somebody's going to come in there and act like you and be the face of your company and do it. And that's the most frustrating for me. Yeah. And it's hard, but it's easy to answer on the backside and to pick at you and go, oh, you know what? I would have been so much above what Matthew said. No, I would not have been. I would have been the guy charging out the door going, we're done.
Yeah,
all right.
See you later.
See ya. All right. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Matthew's very handy. He's worked on a lot of stuff, but I want to hear a DIY nightmare story. I'm talking fires, pestilence, bugs.
So not
water.
Really a nightmare, but we like to keep our bedroom colder. This our boys upstairs on the same floor as us, and I like to keep our bedroom cooler, especially in the fall and winter. And so I was moving our thermostat from our the master bedroom out into the hall, which I know there's probably some issues with that, but I didn't want the temperature sensor to be kicking on if I'm leaving the window open and it's 40 degrees outside. And so I moved that. Well, I didn't shut all the power off, which is my fault, and tripped one of the cables, and blew a fuse in our AC unit. And thankfully, in our furnace. Thankfully, it was just an automotive fuse, and I was able to go get one. But my wife said, very graciously, as I started, she said, "Whatever you do, please make sure we have heat tonight," because we had a newborn at home. So this is our third son was home, our second at home. And I mean, he's probably 2 weeks old. And it was supposed to be cooler that night. And I was thinking, like, I mean, I'm so tired of having the heat on in the bedroom. Like, let's put it out there. It'd be great. And I'll leave the window open. It'd be fun. And so I get everything set up, and I go turn the heat on, and it's not coming on. I was like, there's
some pressure.
I'm in trouble. So thankfully was able to watch some YouTube videos and get it figured out. So not quite a nightmare, but it was right on the cusp of being a big issue. And the main reason was because she had told me, make sure we have heat tonight.
So lesson learned. How many years have you been married?
We've been together 13 years.
13. Yeah, close. Alan?
31.
Yeah. So lesson learned for everybody. You're thinking about getting married. First of all, think about it hard. Second of all, do not, when your child is only 2 weeks old, decide that you're going to do a major reno project. Oh, yeah. Guess what? Yeah, I did. How about when she was 8 months pregnant and I was demoing the master bath and the house with
what
3-year-old
thinking?
I'm not thinking at all. I mean, you talk about DIY.
Some more quiet time.
I need way more. Dude, there's not enough quiet time of the day to get me out of this. All right, everybody, go out there, make it a success. Make that mountain, get over the top, go up it, make it happen. We got to get out of here, but we're bringing Matthew back. We're out of here. Let's go.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.